Hello, my name is Pew Pew Choo Choo, and today we're back for the noon engagement portion of the Mortain second day operation. So continuing off from where we had left off, we deploy a relatively similar force to the one that we had last time in Wehrmacht. You'll see that the losses from the last mission had actually carried over. You'll see that the crew, one of our Panther vehicles are damaged. The name actually changed from Panther A to Vehicle Crew. Starting off with pretty much exactly what we've had from the last time, we immediately engaged the enemy is armored units in the same sector of the map. Like I said last time, I've deployed my Panther tanks onto the ridge now. Instead of actually moving them up here, it's simply much easier and safer just to redeploy them throughout the deployment window. You see that my infantry try to assault this Sherman here, but they aren't necessarily all that successful. I'm a little worried about the Panthers being exposed from their sides where they're particularly vulnerable. I had originally positioned one Panther above to take out any resistance further up north. However, it didn't look like there was a very large chance of anything being up there. I've got to say, it was pretty odd. While recording this, Fraps had many little technical difficulties. I wasn't actually able to record the deployment phase for some reason. It was essentially just blanked out.
Take cover! In position.
You'll see that the Sherman actually received some internal damage. You'll notice that it's actually missing a person now that it's been hit once, and it has been concussed, so now it has been stunned. And finally it's finished off by one more shell. The only major change I've made to our troop lineup on this map is the inclusion of two Opal trucks instead of mortars to facilitate the movement of our troops on the southern portion of the map. I get some of our infantry to move up onto the side into the northern portion just to kind of lock down the enemy's ability to redeploy afterwards. And I also noticed that there's a Sherman on the road here, although from what the game tells me, line of sight doesn't allow me to actually shoot at it right now. Hopefully we'll be able to come out of this mission with no losses. Apart from infantry, of course. Now, in theory, with the Panther, I should be able to take on the Sherman frontally with no problem. If you read the little troop menu on the side there, you'll notice that we had HE loaded for the first shot. While it did look like a hit, it technically missed because HE shots from a high velocity cannon obviously doesn't do much to armor. Second shot, however, hits and eliminates the Sherman. Two tanks lost for the Americans, and that'll set them back by a little bit. You see that I have a few Opal blitzes over here. You can tow guns with these and also move infantry. For some reason, the tank over here is the one that was tracked inside the first video. For some reason, it hasn't been repaired yet. That might be because of the turn length. Technically, this is only been a couple hours after the first turn. It's still operational. It still functions as a tank. I don't know why it's renamed Vehicle Crew, but the tracks are still not fixed. It's not in operation just yet, although I assume that it will be later on. Here I just reschedule my Opal Blitz's trucks' waypoints. The game's AI with the waypoints, it isn't top notch. You'll kind of see that the Opal Blitzes are getting stuck by a little bit. Although the important thing that I've learned from that was that actually the Wield vehicles can actually go over ravines fairly easily without any major problem. Here I decide to move up my Panther, and let's take this ridge over here. I suspect the enemy to be deploying platoons of 5 Shermans or maybe 4 Shermans. Assuming that they kept the same platoons in rotation from the last battle, that means they have 2 more Shermans in action right now. Well, it looks like we found the another Sherman, which is very good. Alright, so with one more Sherman dead, it looks like they probably have um, one more Sherman on the field. Since we're attacking inside this particular operation, I'm not going to accept the truce unless we start losing momentum on the field. If at all possible, I'd like to be able to fully destroy their morale, which will give us at maximum 2 more victory locations. The game would automatically add those to our current list, which would be very helpful. Generally speaking, inside the combat mission games, I like to take the majority of the map, leave a small section to the enemy, and then just simply push their morale down by bleeding out their troops until we finally gain control of the last 2, simply because it's not worth it to bring in the amount of troops needed to assault a location like that. Here I drop some mortars onto the woods over there just to kind of make sure that there aren't any enemies. And this Opal Blitz is still stuck, so I had to reroute it on another route. Our advance in the north looks fairly good. You'll see that the map actually, like I said, it is persistent. The shell craters do stay there, and in theory, if we brought some bombardment up top, we might be able to make some cover like that. The vehicle wreckages will definitely stay there, so right now that little road junction there is a little bit blocked off. You'll see that I'm trying to route my Panthers around that wreck rather than getting them stuck along the wreck in the hedgerow. From what I can tell, the enemy still has quite a lot of troops inside this little corner of the map, and most of them seem to be up in that building near the top corner. There's also a little bit inside this little forest here at the victory location right here. So, with that being said, let's drop some ordnance on them. We'll start off with the forest, seeing as how mortars are a little more effective there than being dropped on top of buildings. A little bit of action happens here and there, really. We did eliminate that platoon HQ, which is rather nice. At the moment, from what I can tell from my other games and this particular session, is that while the platoon HQs are worth quite a bit, each company does have at least 3. Usually they have like about 5, maybe 6 platoons each. So chances are is that the AI does rotate them out. Therefore, taking them out isn't as they're not that high up on the value of well, high value targets, right? However, it's still worth it to just take a look at them and eliminate them on the field. I sent my tank over here to just kind of investigate that lower victory location. It turned out to be quite a risky move. It was actually taken out later on. Here I deploy some of my infantry. I figured if I can take these points, I might as well sweep them up there, seeing as how 10 minutes is still left on the clock. Later on, the mission finishes with us essentially breaking the enemy's morale and taking 2 victory points. Like I said, Fraps has been awfully finicky. It actually took out the end of that video and erased all of the Mortain scenario except for this early little clip. My plan was very similar for the one from the first battle. It was simply to lock down the enemy and destroy the enemy's Shermans and infantry coming up the map. I remember the losses for the Americans being 3 Shermans and about 20 infantry. Roughly 7 were so killed. Many were wounded, of course. However, we did lose 2 Panzer H's in the process. We'll skip on to the third video, simply because I do run these off of one auto-save slot, so I wasn't able to recover the save. Now back onto this map. Last time we fought with only infantry and mortars, making it quite bloody. The good thing about this particular mission right now is that the SS infantry company, which is deployed here, I believe, comes with 3 Stugs as an auxiliary platoon or support units. The bad thing is that I almost got one killed at the very beginning of the game. Chances are is that the first scenario, the first battle on one of these maps would always be very slow paced and then heats up later on. Inside this particular mission, you'll see that an AT gun is actually positioned right in front of our Stug and our lineup here. It's a good thing that we also had a little bit of infantry support, so the gun was able to be fully suppressed and eliminated in a relatively short amount of time. Now bear in mind that AT guns are kind of disposable 1v1 weapons. It would have been nice to see the game take that into account and be able to recycle the manpower inside the gun crews to other squads. You notice that inside our Kampfgruppe builds, we have a ton of 2cm flags, 3.6cm flak guns, which are essentially the same thing, and we also have a few pack guns. The thing about anti-tank weapons inside this game is that they're kind of one use. As soon as they take down one armored unit, chances are is that the AI or the human player, in case of multiplayer, would know where the gun is, and therefore it'd be rendered useless via their artillery or maneuver. Over here, I originally had deployed 1 Stug to kind of control that section of the map, but then it doesn't look like there are a lot of enemy troops there, so I've decided to move it up to capture this little farmstead. We're taking quite a little bit of mortar fire inside the central area down here, and from that building, so what I've decided to do is move our Stugs up and use them as our primary fire base to just kind of take them out. Overall, the scenario is going fairly well. Was doing a large amount of damage, but we really had to go up a notch to make up for our armored losses inside the first scenario and the first battle and the second battle. My apologies for not being able to show the second battle. In total, today we've lost 2 Panthers and 2 Panzer H's. The Americans have lost 5 Sherman tanks and 1 AT gun. Our infantry losses are obviously much lower than theirs, though. We still have a fairly good supply of Panthers and Panzers, but if these stugs are lost, we would be short on a lot of offensive capability for this particular company. I noticed some infantry running up inside this field. I'm not necessarily sure what the best plan of attack is here, so I've decided to put my infantry on standby with the ambush feature, just so that they will decide their own time of engagement, but it looks like they've already opened up on it and decided to pour some ammunition onto that squad, which is fine. Another good thing is that the Stug managed to arrive on the field, so that'll help out quite a bit. We're keeping our losses fairly low here. I've decided to move this troop up to the church inside the woods to the south, and that church is actually on the slope, and it contains that level 4 church tower, which I assume will be quite helpful. Over here, I give the tank to provide direct fire support. I've got to say the combat mission, or rather close combat series, um, takes into account the amount of repair and the amount of or rather the limitations of the Stugs and the assault guns. In most games, such as I don't know, say um, Company of Heroes is the only real close thing to it, rather Hearts of Iron, where everything was abstracted. Stugs are seen as better tanks simply because they don't necessarily use as much resources. The problem with it in these in war games is that since studs carry through battle to battle, if they get tracked, they essentially become AT guns, or rather lesser AT guns. So we have to keep these stugs relatively far away from the enemies, simply because they are relatively fragile if left to be damaged, essentially. Oh yeah, and apart from the fact that we only have 3 of them, inside this company at least. It looks like the enemy has a little bit of infantry or something inside the corner of the map. For now we won't engage that simply because our squads haven't automatically opened up on them. And it looks like we've captured one bar squad prisoner. There's one strong bar team located inside that building. It just managed to take out one entire squad of our infantry. Now, I'm not necessarily sure how many men are inside that building, so I think I'll get our Stugs to move up slightly, put a few shots into the building first and foremost, and just kind of clear it out from there. There we go, our Stugs are moving up, and they'll take the offensive and hopefully eliminate it. Some kind of odd strafe run, I believe, came over. It looked like an American plane. I for sure didn't deploy any of my combat abilities of sorts onto the field, so I would imagine that would be an allied strafing run, although it it didn't necessarily do anything, so I wasn't actually sure what that plane was. It was just kind of strange. I have to check that up inside the menu, and I probably should have done that for the existing abilities. Oh yes, and down here, something's putting mortars on them. They're inside a building, they should be fine. It's only one squad, and I believe it's a fairly low manpower squad as well, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem. This was a little bit risky. I moved my stug up to provide some more firepower onto Grande Fountain or whatever. So now we'll have two stugs pounding this building, giving our infantry a little bit of time to move up. This squad was a little bit depleted. This squad was fatigued. So both of the squads there weren't necessarily combat ready. I've decided to move up a little bit of infantry from this building to kind of facilitate that assault. Once the squads were in better condition, I decided to send them into the building and attack that squad. Initially, it looked like there were no additional forces. There was just just that one lone bar gunner. But then it turns out that there was a little group of men inside there.
We're under
Oh
heavy
well,
fire.
that building has now been secured. That's the important thing. I had originally decided to move my stugs forward up along this road. In the top little corner of the map, we had one squad which was originally meant for capping, but it looked like they were taking fire from somewhere down the road, and I thought that a stug could
We're pinned
help
down.
them out over there. Additionally, I had wanted to take stuff along the main road over here, but later on we run into a few more problems.
We're under heavy fire.
It looks like the infantry from here actually started firing on that squad, so that's pretty good.
Take cover. We're under heavy fire.
Here it is. There seem to be a lot of enemy fire coming from this one particular hedgerow, so I moved all of my stugs up here, figuring that if we could score some hits onto this little portion, we'd either be able to break the enemy's morale or hopefully be able to eliminate enough units to render the platoon useless. And what I mean by that is that if one of the enemies' platoons has like one or two men each per squad, then if he deploys it, which chances are is that he won't, then we're going to have a real easy time taking control of the map. If he doesn't deploy it, switch it out, then we can bleed another platoon, and you do that for 4 battles or so, then you've pretty much won already. Now, inside these smaller operations, I'm not necessarily sure if that would be a viable strategy, although that definitely is in the longer ones. Either way, we're gaining quite a lot of ground, and if we destroy the cohesion of the enemy, make them waste some supplies, and render their units useless, then overall that'll improve our chances of securing more and more land inside the future. So far, we only need to succeed on 2 of these maps to actually win the scenario. At the moment, we're making quite a lot of progress here. We have Mortain secured almost entirely, excluding 2 allied victory points, and on Romagny, we pretty much own the map, so at the current rate, we are definitely going to be getting a major, if not decisive victory. You see that I'm conducting a relatively basic, actually very basic offense right here. Getting my units inside the back to support, using quite a lot of fire to suppress, moving up small individual teams to assault the enemy's positions. Later on in this clip, I believe one of the troops inside the topmost squad actually gets hit with friendly fire. I'm not particularly sure if that happened, although that's what it looked like from my perspective, and I believe it happens in the next 10-15 seconds. Yeah, right there. The guy who died near the pothole. So I shut down the big stug guns. I can't necessarily tell how many losses there were inside that little bunch, simply because the trees are in the way, but it looked like we took out quite a lot of them. At the end of the day, we've pretty much demolished the Allied forces on all three battles. Although we've taken severe tank losses inside the first and second, we still have enough reserves, and we have more map control than the enemy, and they have suffered severe casualties. So and that's it for right now. Be sure to stay for the second last part and the last part. I'll see you there, and be sure to subscribe and like the video if you'd like to see more. Until then.